This is about defending democracy. This is no longer Democrats versus Republicans. What do you want your kids to believe in? There must be give and take.
This is White Flag with Joe Walsh.
Hey, a pointer, a piece of advice today. Listen to understand, don't listen to respond. When you listen to someone, especially when you listen to someone who you disagree with, listen to understand them. Don't listen to respond. Don't listen to them just getting ready to fire, just getting ready to jump on them. Listen to them to understand where they're coming from. I got into an argument last night. Yeah, an argument, right? I don't always have respectful debates. I fall off that fucking wagon a lot. I got into an argument last night with a former supporter of mine who believes that what the Democrats are doing right now is a coup. The Democrats forcing, as he said, Joe Biden to step down and put Kamala Harris in there. It goes against what Democratic voters did. This is the attack on democracy, he said to me, Joe. This is the coup. What happened on January 6th wasn't a coup. This is a coup. The Democrats right now, by forcing Biden out, Joe, they're attacking democracy. Now, internally, in my head, all fucking bullshit, right? I'm saying to myself, all fucking bullshit. Refusing to accept the results of an election and then trying to overthrow that election, that's a coup. A president deciding not to run for re-election, that's not a coup. This is what I'm thinking inside my head. This is what I'm getting ready to fire with, right back at my former supporter. But I stopped and I held and I didn't respond right away. I listened to him because I wanted to understand why he felt that way. I thought it was fucked up. I thought it was wrong, right? Joe Biden deciding, even if he was pressured into deciding, he decided not to run a week ago. That's not a coup. But my friend, my former supporter, felt like it was a coup, so I wanted to listen to him to understand why he felt that way. So I kept asking him questions. That's a coup? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that's an attack on democracy? Explain it to me. And as he went further and further down this road, and I kept asking questions, because even though I disagreed with him, I wanted to understand him. It got to the point where I realized he felt this way because he was afraid. He felt this way and he said it as I kept respectfully asking him questions, wanting to hear, right, what he was saying, why he was saying it. He finally got to the point where, Joe, this is bullshit. Trump was going to beat Biden. Ding. It's not fair, Joe, because Trump was going to beat Biden. He didn't like Kamala Harris. He thinks Kamala Harris is a total lefty, bad on the border, bad on immigration, bad on crime, bad on all the rest. But I could tell when I kept listening to him and kept asking him questions, I understood why he felt the way he felt. He's afraid. He thought that Trump had it wrapped up if Biden was Trump's opponent. But Harris is a wild card. And now he doesn't know. Oh my God, this is different, right? We were running against an 81-year-old guy, an 81-year-old dude, Joe, who could hardly speak. And yes, he said this to me, and he said this shit to me because I listened to him. He finally said this stuff to me because I kept asking him questions, and we finally got to the end of the road. Joe, Biden couldn't fucking speak. It's not fair. That's who the Democrats picked, Joe, and Trump was going to beat him. Kamala Harris, she's bad, Joe. She sucks, but she can speak. She can deliver a speech. I don't know what's going to happen. Here's my point. When my former supporter of mine said to me last night, and he is a former supporter, is he a friend now? I don't know. He thinks I'm a traitor. But when he came at me and said, Joe, this is bullshit. What the Democrats are doing right now is a coup, an attack on democracy. I could have right away fired back at him. Oh, bullshit, Steve. Bullshit. Refusing to accept the results of an election, that's a coup. I could have fired right back. I could have listened to him and responded, but I didn't do that. I listened to him to understand. I didn't respond. I listened to him to understand. And after 5 or 6 minutes of this, I understood. He's afraid. He had an election that they thought they had won. Biden steps down, and all of a sudden now there's fear like Trump may lose. Doesn't understand it, doesn't know, like Harris, it's a wild card. This is an X factor now. It's a new election. It's changed. And that's why he said what he said to me about the bullshit of a coup. He doesn't really believe it. It's just he's afraid. I never would have gotten this from him. I never would have understood this if I hadn't taken the time to listen, to understand where he's coming from. I didn't have to give up what I believe. And by the way, at the end of the conversation, I told him respectfully, Steve, I get what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, man, but it's not a coup. I explained the primary process to him. I explained how it's not an election process. Primary voters vote for delegates. Delegates decide at the convention. Each party does this. These primaries are not elections. They are party primaries. They decide at the conventions through the delegates who the party nominee is. I walked him through this. I walked him through how this is not a coup. And even though he disagreed with me, he understood that. And so he kind of got that. He still doesn't believe that what happened on January 6th was a coup. Fine. The only point I'm making is he's not a bad guy. And he doesn't really believe that what the Democrats did with Biden, what Biden did, is a coup. And I never would have heard that. I never would have gotten that if I would have responded right away, if I would have listened to respond and fired at him right away, and right away we'd have had an argument, and I right away never would have understood that he doesn't really believe it's a coup. He's just afraid because Trump may now lose. This is important. Why? Because Steve's not a bad guy, right? Steve's not a guy who believes what the Democrats really did was a coup. He's just afraid. See, when we listen to understand, we learn shit. And generally, when we listen to understand, even though this guy and I are diametrically opposed now, we still disagree on January 6th. But when we listen to understand, generally, most of the time, we find out and we realize that the person I disagree with is not a bad person. There's something else going on. They don't believe Barack Obama's a communist. There's something else going on. But we don't find that out if we don't listen to understand. I'm not talking about finding common ground. I'm talking about just understanding where that person's coming from. I think that's an important step. Listen to understand. Don't listen to respond. It's something I got to keep reminding myself of. Hey, I'm Joe Walsh. Thanks for listening to me. My email, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. That's all one word, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. Do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel, White Flag with Joe Walsh. Do me a favor, Share this with everybody. Encourage friends and family members to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It doesn't cost a thing. It just means you get instant access to all these videos, everything I put out. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, White Flag with Joe Walsh. Spread the word, encourage others to subscribe as well. Thank you. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow White Flag with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been White Flag with Joe Walsh.